Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar world champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to the opening round of Season 4 in the FindingSpeed GT3 League live on Apex Racing TV and the FindingSpeed YouTube channel. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me in the commentary box tonight is David Whitehouse. Sam Kumo is operating the cameras for this opening round of the championship, and it is Imola, our host for round 1 of the season. And David, we have got a bumper grid tonight, 50 drivers in this 1 hour long race. Imola is not the biggest circuit in the world, but these drivers are going to have to manage it. It is going to be quite a baptism of fire in this start of the season.
Yeah, it is. Good evening, everybody. This circuit, 50 drivers. I'll be queuing up back to Rivazza to start the race. It's going to be an interesting few laps to see how many can make it round cleanly. Obviously, we do have the 2 categories as well in terms of the level of the drivers. So we would expect to see a good level of control of the opening lap, especially with an hour-long race to get round.
Exactly, and we are currently in a practice session, so the drivers have 1 hour 50 to practice. Of course, they've been practicing throughout the week, I am sure, and of course the Fit Series also copies the official series schedule as well, so I'm sure these guys will be up to pace, and then we will have a 10-minute qualifying, and then, as David was saying, we'll go into a 1 hour long race where a pit stop will be mandatory, and we're expecting those pit stops to come around sort of the 35, maybe even 40-minute mark with this fairly low fuel consumption here. Imola, you're not on the throttle a whole lot due to the twisty nature of this circuit. Yeah, this is just going to be a lot of fun. This Imola circuit, I think one of the best to drive, David, no doubt. It's got such a fantastic flow to it. The curves are fairly generous. They have changed in real life more recently, but I think the ones that we've got in iRacing, you can sort of attack them, especially in these GT cars, and at least when you're upping by yourself, there isn't many places better to be in the world of sim racing.
Yeah, the Imola circuit is historic. It's an old school circuit as well, as you can see. There isn't runoff right by the edge of the circuit. You're not going to get, there is the temptation to use it, especially on the outside of the Variante Alta that we're just coming up to now. Well, we were just coming up to there. And but slowdowns are possible, but mistakes are punishable by grass or gravel, so that makes this circuit that little bit harder than some of the newer circuits.
Absolutely, yeah, and that is a good element to it. The fact that it sort of properly penalises you without needing to have slowdowns and off tracks and whatever. Instead, when you go off the circuit, you just lose time straight away, and that's yeah, a very good element of this track. Now, I absolutely adore the rush out of the grid. However, it's solo qualifying, so everyone will just be all by themselves, and we kind of miss that opportunity. But it will still be cool, and of course, it's much more fair for the drivers to go out one by one, all on the circuit by themselves, before yeah, getting those times in. So expect that timing tower to really light up after about 3.5 minutes into this qualifying session. The drivers will be setting 2 or 3 laps in this qualifying session, I believe. And of course, once you get to the 10 minutes, that is all it. You cannot finish the lap that you start. And of course, if you're watching this on the FindingSpeed YouTube channel, you probably already know this. But iRacing and YouTube content creator FindingSpeed provides provides broadcasted special events, leagues, track guides, and also how-to videos for iRacing enthusiasts. And if you head over to FindingSpeed.com/race to learn about the next broadcast special event, Sebring Sunday. That is an epic 2-hour solo sprint race in the GT3 and LMP2 classes, and it's designed specifically to help the teams prepare their drivers for the Sebring 12 hours, which is taking place in a couple of weekends' time. So do check out the FindingSpeed.com website for all of that, and yeah, that will be broadcast on Apex Racing TV as well. So do make sure to check that out. As yeah, the drivers just warming up their tyres, preparing for their first fast lap in this qualifying session.
Yeah, and as we've seen, Robert Adams warming them up in an unconventional way, I think we'll say, with a couple of spins on the opening lap. But that's, obviously, it's not his fast lap, so it doesn't matter too much. And here is Dan Morey for Altitude Esports heading out. I think this will be his first flying lap. And I did see in the chat somebody saying, what's the betting on an altitude pole position? So that will be very interesting to see if that comes right, as this does look like a good opening start to a lap for Morey. We're expecting the Altitude Esports Audi to go pretty well around this circuit, because it's the Audi's a car which isn't always chosen that often, but we have plenty of them in field. We have actually a really good range of cars from the GT3s, from Porsche, Ferrari, Audi. I can see there's a McLaren in there, BMWs, there's even a Mercedes, which is very rare to see in the GT3 fields.
Yeah, where is the McLaren? We want to see the McLaren. Oh, yes, so we do have a McLaren. So we have a McLaren, and then, so were you saying the McLaren, or did you say Mercedes?
I said both.
Oh, you said both. Sorry, I thought you just said
That's
Mercedes,
all right.
But it's all good that we got both of them. That's even better. So
Don't tell me you're like Andy and like to stare at the McLaren all day.
oh, I absolutely do. However, there is no Ford, which would be the ultimate car. I am just checking now. There are no Fords. Well, we came close, guys, but we just fell one short. Someone drive the Ford. Come on, guys. It's not all about the winning. It's about the variety.
The eye candy.
Yes, exactly. And it sounds good as well. Ear candy as well. Gribstad goes to the top. Mark Fletcher is there in second place. Great to see Mark Fletcher back on the channel. He's done plenty of Apex series over the years, or at least series broadcasted by Apex in the past. And he is also the champion from 2 seasons ago, I believe. However, this man, Billy Fletcher, who we have seen in some races fairly recently as well, he moves into second position there, does Billy Fletcher. We have seen him in the Sim Racers World IMSA Winter Series, also driving the GT3 cars, so he's very comfortable in these cars, and he is currently top. But now Callum Garton, who also races in that series, he goes top by about half a tenth of a second. However, I'm sure some of the drivers will be improving on their second times.
Yeah, it's always good to get a bit of a banker lap in at the start of a qualifying, especially when you're limited to the number of laps you can do. So get the first one in, then there's less pressure when you push for a second one, as we are now watching Carl Gray, who's top of the times of the silver rated drivers. So he's actually done a really good job on his opening lap, managed to jump ahead of 4 or 5 gold rated drivers on an opening lap. So that's a good start by Gray. And looking at the bottom of the screen, David Flanagan is on a good lap. Dan Morey doesn't look like he's going to improve this time round. So we'll just see as they come round towards the end of the lap. And we are watching the number 90 David Flanagan in the Ferrari there as he comes across the line, and he does improve. Yes, but not in position. He doesn't improve his position, so stays in 8th and drops to 9th as Mark Fletcher jumps up. Oh, it's Dadswell who's moved up, my apologies, up into 4th place. So that is a great lap by Tom Dadswell. And as we were saying at the start of this, Altitude Esports have 5 drivers in the top 10. So a great start for them in this championship.
Yeah, maybe we need to put some rumours out within that team. We need to infiltrate it and then say someone said a bad thing about someone else, and then we can break them apart. Give someone else a chance, perhaps. That's my first inclination, at least when
just get him to hire me.
There you go. Yeah, we just need someone who's really argumentative, and then yeah, just let the madness ensue. Boltner goes to the top now, trying for Volkner Racing, and he goes up ahead of Knudsen and Gray. Of course, he was at the top. Do you feel like if Gray does make the series, we've got to call that category the Gray category? Silver and Gray are very similar, but we'll resist until he really does take control of the championship. At the moment, just in 3rd place and back in the pits as well. Now, I'm not entirely sure if the drivers get 3 laps or whether they just get 2 laps. It might be limited to the 2, and I'm seeing a lot of drivers come into the pit, so I'm not sure if this lap from Mark Fletcher will actually count, but he seems to be pushing as hard as possible, maybe just doing a lap showing that this is what I could have done if I'd nailed my 2nd lap, because he didn't improve on his 2nd lap. Let's see if this one counts though. Maybe it's just fuel. In fact, he does go up to 2nd place, so they can do more than 2 laps. Fletcher is up to 2nd, and that was an excellent effort to move on to the front row.
Yeah, just went purple in the final sector, but Billy Fletcher is on a brilliant lap himself. Purple in sector 3 and 4, and we're just... Has he crossed the line? Yes, he has, but it didn't improve, so it must have lost a bit of time somewhere else in the lap. This is a very brightly coloured Mercedes, the number 70 there of... I'm just trying to see. We've got to scroll right down. It's Ollie Morgan for Morgan Racing. He hasn't set a time yet, so we're just waiting to see him come through towards the end of the lap. I'm just looking. We have 5 drivers who are currently not set a lap time, so that could be through invalidation or just choosing to start near the back of the grid.
Yes, it might be the place to be when it comes to the race, as Grebstad goes to the top. What a lap time that is. And that's not going to be beaten by Gartson. Fletcher's still out on track, so he might be able to beat it. But Grebstad, that is an excellent lap from him. Move ahead of the British drivers, and it could be an important pole position around here at Imola. I mean, with the one would assume that there's going to be a lot of towing, so you don't necessarily want to be at the front, but I'm sure that will be very satisfying there for Grebstad. And pretty much everyone back into the pits. Pole position should be his, but there are still some drivers continuing. Kahea, who I think is a former champion in the ARL GT Trophy in the AM category. So Kahea is very good. He's in the Pro category though for this series. You can see him take an alternative line. Unfortunately, once the 10 minutes is up, you can't complete your lap, and well, that's the least of his worries now because he's crashed.
Is that his alternative line? I don't think that one's going to work, to be fair. But here goes Igor Bemic, the Slovakian for Boltner Racing. Down in 8th in his class at the moment, 26th overall. But on a decent lap this time round, so let's see. He's really pushing hard, stretching, but just touching the gravel on the exit of Rivatsa. That has probably invalidated that lap. But we'll see as he comes across the line. whether there's any improvement. It doesn't look like it is an improvement, but not by much, I don't think so. No, it was it was invalidated in the end. So that is, I think, the last of the drivers out on the track, because everybody else is in the pits.
Yeah, so that'll be about it. So yeah, fun qualifying session there. Wasn't quite sure who was going to come out on top, but it looks like Ineos Motorsports have been able to cause a little bit of a surprise there by taking pole position. Well, not necessarily a surprise. We knew that Krebstad was going to be near the front anyway, but considering they had to beat lots of Attitude Esports drivers, he was outnumbered. And we'll see what he can do in the race. There he is at the top, rolling start for this race, of course. Gartson in second place. Gosh, this is going to take a while to get through the grid. Let's go for it, guys. Fletcher, and then it's the Billy Fletcher. They are not related, believe it or not. I believe. I've gone through this a couple of years ago. They are not related, Mark and Billy. Annoyingly, they joined the same team, though. So try to, differentiate them, but they are not related. Dadswell is in 5th place. Then it's Gannon, Marin, Bree, Hartung, Adrianson's great to see Jensen out there. Maury Flanagan is in 12th. Then it is Van Nylen. Boltner is top of the AMS. Then it's Knudsen, 2nd place in the AMS. Then it's Pudicom, Gray, Papadopoulos, Zyking, Carlson, Angelo, Cahea, Bluso, Ocasio, Lynch, Bembic, Arcala, Crouch, Zaja, Puccetti, Hopkins, Gooch, Lavagna, Cocho, Michina, Elliott, Pedrero, Soto, Peck, Odoms, Dara Atchinsons, then it's Okoranza, Mystic, Carter, Barchala, Barnes, Kelly, Morgan, and Reagan, rounding out the 49 cars there. Yeah, still got 20 more seconds of the gridding process to go, and yeah, you can see how far that train tickles back almost to the Variante Alta.
Yeah, I'll let you take a little bit of a breather after that. Well, luckily there wasn't 50, so you only had to go to 49. But we're currently looking towards the back of the grid, sitting at Variante Alta. And I think these drivers, when the lights go green, will still be trying to get through with that. So never mind starting the race. So we'll see how that goes. This is Russell Barnes, his onboard camera for FindingSpeed.com car as the pace car pulls away. And here we go. Remember, they're not lined up in split categories, so it is a bit of a mix. So if you've qualified behind a silver driver, tough luck. You're going to have to find your way past them.
Yeah, going to be one of the tricky things for those drivers. I'm not sure if you get overall points, whether it's done by category, but well, yeah, either way, the drivers will be desperate to move through the order if they possibly can. Now, this is a really tricky start for the drivers, often causes problems with when the pace car decides to drop out. At the moment, Krebstad looks to be all okay. He's holding the field. He still holds it. When will the green flag come out? And still the green flag is hesitating, but we are surely about to get underway. Here we go now, and Krebstad does go before the green flag was launched, and there might be a little bit of an advantage there for the drivers on the odd side of the grid. So Fletcher immediately getting ahead of Garton, also Dadswell getting ahead of Billy Fletcher as well. The teammates get into single file, so good start there from Krebstad to be able to get a little bit of a launch. Good start for Maury as well. He's up a couple of places. Lynch has had an absolutely magical start. He's up 8 places, up from 25th up into 17th. He must have got an epic launch off the start right there. And at least in the top 30, they've done excellently well through the first chicane. There is Lynch. He's all the way up into 2nd place out of the AMS.
Yeah, great start by everybody. It looked like trying to get through the centre of London on a weekend, but no, we've got a few drivers off at Villeneuve chicane. Just trying to work out. One looks like Alex Peck. There's a car off in the background. It looks like Coco. Crouch, it is. Crouch, who had to do a complete U-turn. There's Carl Gray, who we saw qualifying well in the silver category. So we've got a lot of drivers coming around, and look at that on the map. It's like the coins in the 20p machines at the fun fair. I mean, all of those cars crammed into this little section. Christopher Carlson decided to head off to the back of the field, and there is Russell Barnes coming out towards Variante Alta for the first time, and there's a move by the Mercedes just behind as well. Oh, and we got a car off on the that's the exit of a chicane. It's a very weird angle to be at, but he's waiting. It's Okazo in the Audi having to wait, and he's away and gone. I wonder if we might find out what happened to him later on, but that is a very strange angle to be at.
Yeah, he drops way down the order. That's 21st place out of the AMS, remember. So that's not even, we're talking 40th place overall, so that's how far down he has dropped. As we've got some cars alongside, that's contact. 3 cars making contact. Bembic, Barchala, and also Lavagna as well, all involved. And 1 car was on the inside. It's so narrow down into that first chicane, and it's very tricky to avoid incidents like that. I just hope that they haven't got any damage. Now, the drivers do have a faster pair, so if they do have significant damage, they can continue in the race, but they will have to do an extra pit stop most likely, unless you get damaged just a couple of laps before your scheduled stop. 3 wide interval, this can't work well. And for the second chicane in a row, we have contact between 3 cars. Bembic straight lines it, and surely he's got damage after those 2 contacts, and yeah, they might be limping back to the pits very soon.
Yeah, that was the right choice by Bembic. He realised he wasn't going to be able to turn into Villeneuve and just straight lined the gravel. We can see Barcella having a lot of front end damage there. He was the one launching up into the air, and he's been squeezed slightly there. That is by Gray on his recovery drive through the field. His teammate just close behind Barcella. And yes, an action-packed start to these opening 2 laps, but it looks like the front sort of half of the field got away unscathed and quite cleanly, whereas the second half of the field, obviously trying to push up early on, have got themselves into a couple of scrapes.
Yeah, a couple of problems further down there, but yeah, strong start for Grebstad so far, and of course now he starts to play the fuel-saving game. I remember at least Gartson and Billy Fletcher, who were racing in another series earlier in the week, really obsessing over the fuel. That was when they were racing at Sebring. But I assume it's going to be similar games come this race, so probably quite happy to stay in those positions in these early stages. And maybe will launch later on, so Grebstad with track position. But of course, if you can save 2 seconds worth of fuel in second place, then of course you're going to be the net leader when it comes to the pit stop. So yeah, keep around for this one. It will very much evolve as we kind of get to the 35-minute mark, which is when we're expecting these drivers to come to the pits.
Yeah, there's a game that can be played here. I commentated on the GT Trophy Pro League for Apex Racing Leagues earlier in the week, and the RPC guys played it to perfection in terms of working together because they were in a group. We have the same again. Hakon Gribsted is all by himself there with 4 altitude esports cars, even though they're the blue and the standard team, shall we call them. So they will be able to talk to each other, and maybe just one pushes Gribstad along while the other lot pit later in the race. Obviously not at this stage, but later on just go, right, okay, we need one Gribstad watching Fletcher behind him as Fletcher now looks to the outside going towards Tamburello. Maybe the games aren't going to be played and we're just going to try and race it out. Fletcher around the outside, for giving each other room, and that's a great move by Mark Fletcher to move up in ahead of Gribstad. And now will Mark Fletcher try and disappear in the distance? Here comes Callum Garton. The altitude esports cars are eating Gribstad for breakfast right now, driving around the outside of it. That will give Gribstad a bad run, and here comes Dadswell up the inside into Tosa, and that will make another room. Will Gribstad be able to hold on around the outside? Yes, he can, and here comes Billy Fletcher. Won't want to make contact with his teammate. Lets Dadswell move back into line, and now Gribstad is well and truly in an altitude esports sandwich.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Grevstad there, when very much everyone's against you when you're in a battle like that. But he's just got to kind of recompose himself. He's still very much in this race, like I was saying before. You don't necessarily want to be leading it can be absolutely fine to be a couple of places down getting the slipstream, so could still be in a good position here. As yeah, we ride on board with Billy Fletcher. Still Patrick Gannon keeping up with these drivers. The car number 6 running in 6th place. That very much takes him back to Dave Baker in the BSRTC Championship. I'm sure Sam will remember this as well, broadcast where Baker took the car number 6 because he always finished in 6th place. No wonder maybe if Gannon has done the same thing here, but he's very much living up to his number sake at the moment. Any moves close at the moment out in front, it looks like everyone's just got the toe on one another, and they'll stay all in the same order at the moment. With the Audi leading the Porsche, another Porsche, and then the 2 Audis behind. This is getting a bit tight, so though Hartung is behind Marin, and Hartung is up 1 place so far, and on that last lap actually dropped back by half a tenth. So I can't imagine how close he was on the lap before this one, but he's very close right now, and might have a chance at a move. But you really have to be sure here at Imola. There's a few hard-fought overtaking opportunities, but there's really anywhere obvious as such.
Yeah, it's all about pressuring your competitor into a mistake, which, as we said before, is very easy. You get so close to the grass on entry here, and you could just spin it out if you catch it a bit too much. Just looking at the timing chart at the moment, it's Adriansen currently in 19th place, the biggest mover, 18 positions from his opening start position, so up to 23rd. Started 41st, so that's a great opening lap. Managed to get through the odd messy corner or anything, kept his cool head, and now he's up behind Pacetti for 18th in class, but still got a few silver drivers to try and make it his way through. Just looking further up the field, yes, most drivers in the top 10 are sort of there or thereabouts with their pace, and if you do see a purple lap time, that is the fastest lap, and you see it further down, it will be for the silver class. Look at the class for that driver, that will be the fastest lap in their class. I've just confused myself by seeing one earlier, so I thought I'd better mention that one.
Yeah, I mean, Boltner's quick, but he's not that quick. Oh, Gartson going into the lead now. Was that a mistake from Mark Fletcher, I wonder?
It might be, or it could be, well, there's some flashing of the lights there, so I wonder if that's been planned.
Maybe this is the toxic, this is the arguments that we wanted. We are witnessing Altitude Esports falling apart before our very eyes, and this is exactly what we want to see. I feel like it's probably not the case. Oh, no, it wasn't. Well, that's interesting. I was hoping you'd punch him off, but it's just lifted him off. That's actually extremely generous. It looks like that team's never been stronger in their existence. So we Gartson back to the front, and actually now 7/10 clear of his teammate.
Yeah, we'll wait till later in the season for that, because if they have to keep doing that, then they might get a bit frustrated.
Good point.
Mark Fletcher doing a great job of holding up Gribstad at the moment, allowing Callum Garton to get away. Obviously, Fletcher and Garton technically in different teams, but still Altitude Esports as a whole. Just behind them is Patrick Gannon, Oliver Marin, and Max Hartung. So that battle is closing up. And again, we've got the map on screen, and there is little groups forming, but there's still, I think that's second in class. The silver class is leading the second train. There's still groups of, what, 10, 15 cars altogether, so it's still very, very close. There's now a defence by Fletcher into Tamburello, so this looks like a sort of plan to defend against Gribstad, but if any teammate comes up behind Fletcher, he will just let them go and pull away, because Garton is now 1 second clear of this field and stretching the legs of that Porsche.
Yeah, and ooh, was that a tap? It was certainly squirrely for Fletcher, and it's going to be an excellent run into Piratella, into yeah, the fast left-hander. No such opportunity, of course, barely braking in these cars, and they'll use all the track that they can possibly use. I think it's the curb there. What's this track with the new kind of all four wheels off the track enabled rather than sort of the center of the car. It needs to be in a certain place. It measures where the tyres have to be. So it's sort of a bit more generous, I think, around that part of this track than it used to be. But yeah, up to 1.5 seconds now between Gartson and Fletcher. Gap is opening up, and this is you're really allowing the race leader to get away. You would think that Fletcher would be, still going for the race win here, but well, if this was all planned for Gartson to win the race, it's certainly playing out very well for Callum Gartson, because he's consistently opening up that gap. But we'll see if Grivstad can have a better launch at it into turn one this time round.
Yeah, I think Fletcher's just going, this is my pace. If you're quicker than it and you're my teammate, you can go off ahead. If you're not, tough luck. And that's why he's closing the door for Gribstad. He defends again into Tamburello. Dadswell lifting off. You can hear a bit of fuel saving there into the Tamburello chicane. Luckily, there is a few heavy braking areas in this circuit that you can save a little bit of fuel, especially with Atsa down bottom of the hill. Looking right at the bottom of the timing screens, we actually have three drivers. We had three drivers in the pits in Papadopoulos, Bembic and Barcella, and only Barcella hasn't rejoined the race by the looks of things. So we'll see whether those drivers do all get going, but Bembic looks like he's about 5 laps down at this stage, so a bit of chasing up to do for him.
I don't want to be harsh to Barcella, I don't want to wish ill on anyone, but seeing that there are two Barcellas out there, Jose and Alejandro, anyone could go up the rest and make our lives a bit easier. That was one of them, so thank you for the sacrifice there. Alejandro right there, as it's very close for second place. Unfortunately, I'm having a bit of a problem with my cameras, so if there is anything exciting happening, do interrupt me, do not hesitate. But I'm just seeing on the time screen down to quarter of a second between second and third.
Yeah, it's super close, this train of second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. Gannon hanging on to the back of this group and pulled out a 4-second gap on Marnin behind. So this train of cars, I mean, if it was the top three all in the same team, they'd probably be working together. But right now, it's just pure mirror driving by Mark Fletcher to keep Gribstad behind. Gribstad moving across. Now, that will be to make sure he's sort of hidden from Mark's view. It's sort of a way of trying to surprise Mark into maybe watching his mirrors too much and keeping Gribstad honest. But no mistake coming from Mark Fletcher, as we probably come to expect now as they come through Villeneuve. Plenty of curb. You just got to try and watch them sausage curbs. Try not to run over them too much. Back in the silver class, Boltner continues to lead from Knutson, Angelello, Gooch, Lisu and Sidger. All of that's the top 6 in that silver category. And here's Knudsen at the moment, who's mixing it in, as is Wagner, with the bottom end of the top 15 in the gold category.
Yeah, this really close around that sort of region. Yeah, Knudsen doing a good job battling with some of the pro drivers. As you're saying earlier, Ron Atkinson's one of the highest gainers so far, up 20 places. Morgan up 22. Russell Barzacos Series Admin up 21, which is super impressive. And then a couple of others, Reagan up 17 and Kelly up 18 as well. So some big gainers. But yeah, still Morgan now the highest gainer of anyone so far in this race, as I see some shuffling down Knudsen. Now with a problem maybe with Kirsten.
Yeah, he's off at the Variante Alta. Only drops a couple of positions and doesn't actually lose any positions in class, just the Ferrari and Porsche of Sidekin and Kajella going past. So no harm done. You won't break yourself into there. You can just nip over the top of the chicane. So we now look at Marnin, now trying to get past Hartung. Oh no, Hartung passes Marnin, sorry, into the opening corner. And now will Hartung be able to stretch his legs of that Porsche and try and close? But now 5-second gap, which is between him and 6th place.
Yeah, it seems like a big order, doesn't it? Seeing how quick we've seen the front drivers so far in this race. So it would be an absolutely huge effort in order to catch up that gap, but at least sort of being best of the rest perhaps would maybe be the best that he can possibly hope for at this point in the race.
Yeah, it's at this stage it's just about cementing your position, trying to play the game to the pit stops, maybe push a bit closer to the pit stops and make sure that you can take a position, and then Morley up the inside at Barry Antialta. This is going to be tight. Mine sees him coming and decides to slot in behind rather than try and go too wide through there, which is possible if you're very, very willing. And here comes Adriansen down into Rivazzi. He's looking to the outside, doesn't quite make it, gets his nose slightly cut off by Marnin, but round the outside, Adriansen, can he do this at Rivazza? Marnin's being very nice to them, and round the outside, great move by Adriansen up into 9th place for Indy Autosport. But here we go at the moment. Oh, that's the other Adriansen, Darrad off. We have Matt Cudson off, we've just seen him off at Variante Alta earlier on, so we've had an instant here down at Rivazza. There's Pacetti off as well, so we've got a number of drivers skidded off here at the Rivazza corner. Careful, Pacetti rejoining this. We'll try and see what happens here. And they try to go 2 by 2 down the hill. And just having a look, Adriansen. Oh, it's Adriansen who loses control, knocks Pacetti into Knutson, and then Pacetti rejoins straight into the path of a Porsche, which I didn't quite catch who that was. But yes, not an ideal rejoin there for Pacetti, just trying to get going before the traffic come around, because he was on the racing line, so he probably assumed he needed to get out of the way. So not an ideal position there. As we look at Mark Fletcher now, still defending from Hakan Grimstead. Oh, and he's off on the grass there on the exit of Tamburello, and he's losing. And he's lost a couple of positions down into 6th place behind Patrick Gannon. So his defence has come to an end, and now Fletcher, Gribstad, Dadswell, Cannon, then Mark Fletcher is the order, but they're still all in this line. But it has released Billy Fletcher up into 2nd place. He must have nipped through in all of that action, and Billy Fletcher will now try and stretch his legs away from Hakan Grimstad, who doesn't seem to have a huge amount of pace right now. So we'll just have to see what happens. He's now trying to defend from Dadswell, who goes round the outside of him, and Hakan Grimstad is really having a nightmare of a few laps here, and they're going to try and go 3 wide down into Villeneuve. That's not a good idea. But Dadswell does take the position here, does he? Grimstad trying to go around the outside, and he's forced wide into the gravel, tries to rejoin carefully, and that loses him a position to Mark Fletcher, and Dadswell is letting him back through. That's good driving by Tom Dadswell. Realised he'd pushed him wide into the gravel, wanted to let him back through, and that's sensible driving by the Brit to let the Norwegian back through. But that has allowed Patrick Gannon, who was 6th not long ago, up into 3rd place, and let's see if he can stretch his legs ahead of this group and pull away. As this group coming up towards the Variante Alta now. There is Patrick Gannon leading this train. Can they close the gap to Billy Fletcher? But more importantly, Callum Reid Garton for Altitude Esports Blue. 8 seconds ahead of Mark Fletcher now, who's in the middle of this group. So that shows how much Garton has been able to pull away and stretch that lead while the group's been battling hard to move up into sort of 2nd place ahead of Gribstad, who now is down into 5th. Patrick Gannon defends into the opening set of corners, but that has put him slightly off course. Mark Fletcher trying to get that position back, to get back onto the podium, doesn't quite make it through, and now the game doesn't quite work for the Altitude Esports team. They're split up, They're not all quite together. And there's Gripstad dive into the inside of Mark Fletcher. A beautiful move into Tosa. And that's where the Porsche is really strong on the brakes to make that move on the Audi. And that has now put Mark Fletcher and Tom Dadswell, teammates at Altitude Esports, together on track. And Max Hartung has joined the party in the background. Max, who was 5 seconds behind this group, has been helped by all the battling that they have got, and it's really helped him move forward without looking at his lap times. He's, you know, they're quick, but he's not set the world alight with them. But he's just kept it consistent, kept it clean, and closed in. And just behind him is Dan Morey, who also is moved forward, and he's dragging Adrianson, and that's a spin for Bree, was it, in the background, I think? There's a yellow car going round at the Variante Alto. I'm not 100% sure who that was, but we'll see if that driver falls down the field. I can't quite see it on the timing screen at the moment. Dan Morey here, up to 8th place, up 3 positions from his starting position of 11th, and he's the final of the Altitude Esports cars to move forward. This is now Callum Puddicombe, who's Altitude Esports Blue. 2 teams will work together to move forward. But just behind Callum is the Christian Boltner. Christian for Boltner Racing, who is 15th overall, but 1st in class. And as you can see, he's out on his own. So right now, he'll be trying to just stay away from all the gold-rated drivers and just keep it clean, because he is pulling away from 2nd place in class by about half a second a lap at the moment, because here is Scott Angelello for Samsung Blue, and he is up in 2nd place in class.
Yeah, so Angelo's got quite a bit to catch up, isn't it? It's 20 seconds, I think I've read that. Maybe so, 17 seconds though, I think. Just absolutely crazy between the top 2 in the amateur category. And yeah, really does just show for how far ahead Volkner has got. And yeah, absolutely crazy as well, that battle for 2nd down to kind of 6th place, how much time they've lost, as we see some changes here. That is Barnes versus, Morgan versus Gooch. And of course, Morgan now up 28 places. Barnes up 27, Morgan up 28. They have absolutely stormed through. Morgan, highest gainer of anyone so far in the event. And yeah, that is remarkable overtake, or remarkable increase there. And just another overtake on Chris Gooch right there for Mystic Turtles, which is one of the best team names out on the grid tonight. But yeah, just crazy how big that gap now is between 1st and 3rd, now only about a third the way into this race. To see Blusso try to make up another place. There's Seja just ahead of I'm seeing Kosh Kelly, and I think everyone else is seeing that. I would have thought that'd be Josh Kelly, but still Kosh Kelly at least 24th place there. But I feel like that might be a typo.
Yes, possibly, but we will go with Kosh Kelly because that is what is on the screen, and we know no better than that. That's why we're talking about it and not driving in it. But here is Graham Lynch in 12th place, and the recovering Gray, who is now up the inside of Lynch, and he's scything his way back through the field. Doesn't quite make the move into Tamburello the uptime by, but he is trying to make his way back to the front of the silver class field. Adrianson is back in the pits for Indy Autosport after his little off, and the Jose Barcella is also in the pits, so not a good day for the Barcella boys, and they are falling back down towards the back of the field. But here we are currently watching Kosh Kelly, or Josh Kelly. We'll clear that up before the
I mean, that's
event.
the big question for this round,
yeah,
isn't it?
who cares about racing?
Exactly, that's the thing that will, people, sometimes, you go to a movie and you have questions which run around in your head for the next week. I think that's exactly what people are going to be thinking. Let us know, maybe we should do a poll, Is it Josh? The reason why I say Josh Kelly, I think I've seen Josh Kelly race before. I think that's why I'm thinking Josh Kelly.
Maybe it's his brother.
Maybe it's his brother, and maybe his family really liked the Osh sound, and thought, let's just go the alphabet here. Oh
that
dear,
was
we've got a problem for Pudicom there, and he's down to 40th place. And now Maury, who's that? Is that a back marker? I think that's a back marker who he's collided with. Is
Yeah.
that Dennis Carter? Oh, we got another one off, and that's Boltner in the lead of the amateurs. Boltner was all by himself, but he's made an absolutely huge mistake there that will surely need repairs. Great news for Boltner is that he can get to the end of the race if he takes some fuel now. But that is certainly what he not what he needed. But yeah, in front of him it was Maury spinning, and then Boltner managed to do the exact same mistake.
Yeah, that was Maury spinning out of, I think, 8th place as well, which allowed a huge amount of gold drivers through. And then just the same mistake by Boltner, who has certainly bent that wang on the back of the car. So he would probably want to get that fixed with fast repair. But looking at the car, it looks straight enough that if he can drive it just that little bit further to his pit stop, unless he was planning to pit now, then I think it's going to be well enough to do so, and then just make it that one stop when he planned to. Obviously losing the time in the spin as well. Back at the very front of the field, Callum Garton, 6.7 seconds in the lead, but he hasn't extended that much since Billy Fletcher has moved up into 2nd place, and Patrick Gannon is still holding on to that 3rd place as we look at Russell Barnes in 17th. And this is pit stop for Maury coming in to fix that damage, I'm guessing, and probably take on the fuel he needs to get to the end of the race.
Yeah, 60% fuel capacity for these cars, and around a circuit like this they should be able to go about an hour, so 36 minutes of fuel is potential, so they are within the pit window. So it should be a good kind of strategy battle. I mean, you can make it so that, you know, maybe you have a full tank of fuel and the admins just say, oh, you've got to take a pit stop, and maybe you have a wide variety, but it's quite good when you kind of got this 10-minute sequence where you can go for the undercuts or continue around. Of course, the best strategy, theoretically, if you've got a clean track, if you're in testing, is to just go as fast as you possibly can. Then you're on the least amount of fuel for the most amount of the race. But of course the drivers won't be taking tyres that will take way too long to take tyres, about 25 seconds in these GT3 cars. And so yeah, the drivers will try to go as fast as they can, but they will potentially go for 1 lap shorter if it means getting track position, as Gannon moves past again. And he's got quite a queue behind him. That was a weird, once again, it's a weird section of laps that these guys lost so much time. Has Garton made a mistake? He's off the circuit.
I think a back marker may have been involved there actually as well, because that back tyre looks very bent as he tries to get away. Is it crabbing? I'm not no, it might be just the look of it at the angle we were at. But yeah, huge mistake there for Callum Garton, who has dropped down to 7th place, and here we go. I've got a feeling a back marker is involved in this. Gets past the BMW. No, it's going to be just a plain mistake, throwing it in far too quickly, and around it goes, and Callum Garton is going to be so annoyed at himself with that.
Well, I've been commentating on him for 6 rounds in the... he didn't do all the rounds to be fair, but I think 3 rounds in the SRW IMSA Winter Series, and he did not make a mistake the whole time. The only mistake that he made was like there was maybe a glitch with his fuel at one of his pit stops, which cost him some time, but I don't think that was his fault. In terms of driving, the 300 minutes that I saw him drive for, he was absolutely faultless. That is really rare to see from him, and yeah, drops down the order, and Billy Fletcher has the race lead all of a sudden. Gannon has got a very good chance himself as well. He was a 10th past in the race. He didn't look at Fletcher there get really held up, and I wonder if these front runners will consider coming into the pits earlier to get out of the traffic. Problem is, of course, if you pit now, you'll most likely come out outside the top 15 and be just in more traffic, and you know, with even fast drivers who aren't obliged to let you pass. As Mark Fletcher decides to come into the pits, he's had a little bit of a rough race actually, Fletcher. after starting on the front row. The grid dropped down, and there's Gartzen as well. Don't want to rule out Gartzen for the race win. Honestly, I think he can still come back, as the back markers are causing absolute craziness at the moment. Dadswell that time coming very close.
Yeah, the back markers getting out the way the best they can, but with Imola being oh, there's Boltner round again. He had only dropped second in class, but he's gone round at the second Rivatsa, drops behind Gooch, and will he head for a pit lane this time? Yes, he will. He's decided that bent wing is not giving him the downforce he needs, and he's followed in by Blissot, Sidra and Elliott, so a flurry of pit stops right now for the silver drivers. But out the front, Billy Fletcher's gap is now down to 1.5 seconds, and Gannon must be wondering whether to put a lottery ticket on tonight, because he has just sat there and bided his time and picked up positions from the incidents in front and has come out in second place.
Yeah, really good from Gannon. Ooh, that's a big slide there. Wonder if we'll see anyone come into the pits this time out. I imagine they can go another 2 laps at least on fuel if they so choose to, but we've seen a fair few drivers, particularly front runners in the AM category, already come into the pits, a few of them with damage obviously, so I'd explain why they came in. Gannon now behind another back marker will pick up a nice draft and save a tiny bit of fuel as well whilst he's at it. This is Phil Reagan that he's just sat behind. Reagan, experienced driver, not making any problems right there. But here comes Grebstad. He's got an excellent launch. Where is Grebstad in all this? In fact, he's boxed in, and Reagan was not lifting out, and so there was absolutely nowhere for Grebstad to go, and he'll have to wait a little bit longer in order to overtake.
Yeah, that was Hartung going up the inside of Dadswell in the background and making a position up on the number 1 car, and that's a great drive so far by Hartung, who's done exactly the same as Cannon. The 2 Porsche drivers just sitting there, building up their speed throughout the race, and when incidents happen, being the ones to take advantage of it. So that has moved them up into second and 4th overall at the moment. And currently it's Audi, Porsche, Audi, Porsche in the top 6. As round goes, Yetzer and Adrianson, and that is from. He was in 7th place at the time. He's going to have to be really careful rejoining there at Toast, because it's hard to see round the corner. He's done a great job to rejoin there, but nobody wants to sit in 7th place here today.
No, you're very right. It's a bit of a cursed position. Jensen, of course, former Apex Racing League GT amateur champion. He won the amateur championship in that one. I think he may have even won one of the races here at Imola. I think it may have been his only ever race win was here at Imola. Certainly one of his Indy Autosport teammates managed to get one here at Imola. So he should be very good, basically, what I'm saying around this track. But it's not happening for him at the moment as the drivers start to come into the pits. And interestingly, Billy Fletcher able to go an extra lap. But all these guys having to come in this time around. Brew will be the next driver to come around, but it looks as though Fletcher has not only got track position, not only got the pace, also got the fuel conservation as well. Gannon gets stopped on his marks. It seems like everyone didn't have any problems there getting stopped, and we'll see who has to take the most fuel and potentially will lose track position as they exit the pit lane.
Yeah, Fletcher was early on in the queue. He was about 5th as Scott Angelo comes in from the lead of the silver category, but Fletcher was 5th in that queue of cars early on in the race, so he probably saved the fuel then, and then obviously when he got out in front just kept the pace going. But it's Gribstad who gets out in front of Cannon and Fletcher, but there's Mark Fletcher. That undercut has worked for him. He's back ahead of Cannon and just behind Hakan Gribstad. But he's stuck behind. Is that a back marker in there? No, it's actually Gribstad. He's almost passed, so very close to getting second place. And Mark Fletcher's pace wasn't the best before the pit stop because he seemed to be getting bullied backwards. But he has made hay while there's been no cars in front of him, and he's back up into 3rd place.
Yeah, really. Unexpected. That one was his stationary time. Not particularly quick. I mean, Krebstad 19.5 or 19.7, Fletcher 20.6, Gannon 20.4. Dadswell was very quick in the pit stall. 18.1, so Daswell now ahead of Hartung. Yeah, not anything special in the pit lane for Fletcher, but just a really good outlap, and also extra lap after that as well. And he is right there. He could still win this race potentially, but he has to make sure he gets past Grebstad immediately so he can chase after his relative of Billy Fletcher, who is now into the pits. Here comes Fletcher, absolutely has to make this one into a Vatsa. Good space being left there by Grebstad, avoiding a collision but also carrying good speed. The opportunity wasn't there, but maybe turn one will be his next chance.
Yeah, Billy Fletcher already on pit exit and out of a pit, so these guys will be up to speed, but nowhere close enough to Billy Fletcher. And to be honest, I'm quite glad they're not related, because I've had names before where it's been really complicated on knowing which one's the father and which one's the son or things like that. So you end up insulting at least one of them. But Fletcher not managed to make it through there. Cannon be back on the rear of the Audi, ready to try and challenge the American, doing a great job here at Imola so far today.
Oh, as he lifts out there, everyone going wide. Cannon was decided to lift out of it and avoid picking up a 1x. The drivers will get a drive through should they pick up 17 incidents, and then they'll get another drive through for every 8 after that. So you do want to avoid that if possible. Do the drivers. That would be particularly penalising here at Imola with a very long and a very slow pit lane. A quick shout out, by the way, to Asetek SimSports for being one of the sponsors for this series. Do check out the Asetek website. There might be a link in the description below, but if you just Google Asetek, then some of their stuff comes up. And yeah, they do really cool PCs, and they've also moved into the pedal business as well for sim racing. So do check them out, and thanks to them for sponsoring this FindingSpeed League. Fletcher is trying once again. Grebstad a little bit wide there, loses him a little bit of time. Gap was about 0.31 last time out, I think. This time it's 0.23, so he's much closer as Fletcher. He wasn't far away for a move last time out. However, thankfully for Grebstad, he's got a bit of a toe just in front of him, and that will neutralise the chasing effect that Fletcher has got. He decides to put his car to the inside. There's just nowhere for him to go. Now he goes through the middle. Grebstad, though, late enough on the brakes, and he continues to hold off. As a bit of a mistake there for Mark Fletcher, in fact, and that will take him a lap or two to reclose that gap.
Yeah, the back marker did a good job of trying to stay out of the way. Grebstad used him perfectly as Cannon goes up the inside into Villeneuve and takes advantage of Fletcher's mistake. And that is back onto a podium for the Porsche driver. So we currently have Audi, Porsche, Porsche, Audi in the top 5, all from 3 different teams. Altitude Esports certainly monopolising that at the moment, as we now look back at the amateur, the silvered driver leader, Scott Angelello, who took the lead after Boltner made his initial mistake. He's made another one since, but he's still running in 3rd place. There's Chris Gooch, who's done a great job of just keeping it clean for Mystic Turtles and moved his way through. I love the logo on which was next to him, and he's now having to hold off the charging Boltner, who really will want to get back into the lead of the class, because he was stretching his legs really well before the mistake started, and he's had 2 spins since, and that means he's 3rd in class. Still got a chance of this race, but he really needs to get past Chris Gooch very quickly.
Problem for Elliott. There he is for Team Upstate Am. And that's a very awkward place to rejoin, but uses the grass to lose some traction and spin the car around. That's a back marker that is just being overtaken there by. He's down to 9th place, basically, is Elliott. He was up in 5th place out of the AMs, and he's around a very busy part of the track. Now the one behind him, Bill Reagan, that is 4th position, and Reagan moves to 9th position there. Reagan, apologies, Elliott. Very slow momentum there, and Christopher Carlson, who spun on lap 1 of the race, and in fact had to pit on lap 8 of the race as well. So I believe Carlson still has another pit stop to go. I don't think he'd be able to get to the end of the race with the fuel that he's got on board. So expect him to drop back down later on. So he's very much on the recovery drive. At least that BMW looks nice and clean.
where it should do with a fast repair that he will have been able to take at that point. Biggest mover at the moment, Russell Barnes, up 29 positions, up into P17 overall, 17th in his class as well in the Ferrari, and that car looking very clean for the FindingSpeed.com team. And you know, that's the way to do it, isn't it? If you're going to start further back, just pick your way through it nice and slowly, keep the pace up and just take advantage of everyone's mistakes or issues. And Russell has done that, as well as making some overtaking moves. And it's just on the back of what we'd say is the gold group, because the top 17 in the race are all gold rated drivers. And he's right on the back of Kajella next to overtake. I think there might be a back marker involved in there as well.
I remember broadcasting the first season of FindingSpeed, and Russell did the same thing. He always started at the back, and he was one of the most consistent drivers that we've got alongside here. Fletcher is coming back against Gannon. Ooh, contact there. There was further contact from Dadswell. He kind of muscled his way past. And we haven't got live stewards for this event. I don't know, maybe that would be a post-race penalty, not quite sure. Certainly doesn't seem like Dadswell is going to slow down to let Grebstad back past. You can see Grebstad was really slow on the outside here, pretty much giving up on the overtake. And then Dadswell came in really, really quick. Could argue there, Dadswell was just going to take the corner normally, and he couldn't have accounted for the fact that Grebstad was going to go so slowly to that lap, and so it's not his fault. But I'm not sure. I don't think Grebstad would agree. Hang on, Grebstad's back to
I was going to say it's Cannon.
second place. Oh, apologies, apologies.
I was going to interrupt, but I thought you're on a roll here, so you'll change it halfway through, and then you kept on about Grebstad. So, but we're commentators. That's our job to make mistakes. But behind that, in all that instant, Hartung managed to make his way through into fifth place, as we see Puddicombe heading up the inside of the number 90 Ferrari of David Flanagan. And that is a lovely move at the top of the hill. Flanagan needing now to defend from Jensen Adriansen on his comeback drive. I mean, we're going to stop saying who's on a comeback drive, and we'll tell you who isn't, I think, at the rate this is going. As Fletcher is now into the lead. Gribstad's made a mistake in the Rivazza, because he was 2 seconds clear at that point. Gannon into the pits, so he must feel like he's got some damage from that contact. So he's headed into the pitch, and Gribstad loses another place to Dadswell. So it must have been a major mistake by Gribstad. And we've got a car in the middle of the road at Tamburello. Are they all going to miss it? Just about. And this has put Hartung right on the tail of Gribstad now for that fourth place. Who was that? That was Mad Surger being in pits. Patrick Cannon back out in 10th place. So that has really cost the American dearly, who was looking on for a podium for most of this race. But we now look back at Dadswell, who's ahead of Gribstad and Hartung in this battle for second, third, fourth and fifth.
I think my commentary about Gribstad losing out to Fletcher and Dadswell was just a bit preemptive, so I think I was actually doing the highest form of commentary there, and actually projecting the future. So very much you viewers having absolute treats there. Must have been a drive-through penalty for Gannon. That is the thing that points to me. Unfortunately, we can't see how many incidents they've got. Only admins can see. We might request admin access for next time out, so we can see how many instant points each driver has got. But that would seem to make sense. That he didn't seem to stop in the pit stall. That's all did Gannon. So that's a shame, because we were saying how he was the one who wasn't making mistakes earlier on. He absolutely maximised that first half of the race, really got himself into a position where he could maybe win a race, certainly get on the podium. But then sort of the invisible incidents, the incidents that no one notices, the off tracks, were accumulating that whole time, and he has suffered because of it. And yeah, we'll wait to see if anyone else is going to pick up that, because we've seen a few 4Xs for these front guys, and many 4Xs for the guys further back as well. And there's another 1X for Hartung there, just getting on the grass.
Yeah, this battle is raging, and you can just start picking up. It's something I do on iRacing. I'll get halfway through a race and have no X's whatsoever. And then once you pick up one and go, I've not had a clean race, you just start picking up little ones here and there, and you don't realise it until it suddenly goes, oh, you've got a drive-through penalty. And I'm like, hang on, I've been in this battle for the whole race. And that seems to be what might have happened there, as we are now seeing there was a change by Barnes passing Kelja, sorry, and there he is off the track. So Russell Barnes up into 16th place, and that Porsche, I'm not sure if he's a bit damaged or he's just trying to keep it off the line while he gets back up to speed, as Angelello coming up behind him now for the leader in the silver category. He probably would try not to get involved. And speaking of the silver category, Boltner still has not got past Gooch. Here he is trying to prove me wrong into Tosa, not going to make it through, and Gooch doing a valiant job guarding his second place from the German Boltner.
Yeah, he's doing really good at the moment. Surely it's only a matter of time for Volkner to get past 1/10 of a second slower, actually. So it's not really, he has been stuck there for a little while at least. And well, see how much more pace he's driving into that corner. The livery as well in the Mystic Turtles car, absolutely brilliant, fantastic stuff. Well met from Chris. Varianty out to not usually a overtaking spot, very much one by one. Certainly of all the corners around here, of all the changes you can make to the circuit, doubtfully getting rid of that silly chicane, very much outdated. We don't need it anymore, but would really open up this part of the circuit as well. Volkner would be very pleased with that chicane magically disappeared, as Barnes is now into the pits, and I wonder, he of course was off the circuit just a lap ago, so that's probably another problem with off the tracks, as Pudicom, well, that'll be a 2x for him, but that's the least of his worries. He's dropped down to 15th position with that spin.
Yeah, that's the second time we've seen Pudicom off the track here today, as the two cars rejoined from the pits. They were very quick repairs, so I wonder if they've used their fast repairs to just get things cleared. Up. And here's Gooch trying to defend into Villeneuve chicane. Volkner's up the inside. Oh, Gooch turned in thinking Volkner wasn't there, and there goes Gooch. Oh, and into the wall at Villeneuve.
Oh, Volkner's now off himself.
Volkner running wide on the exit of Villeneuve, but he will keep third. Oh no, he's third now, because Blessu wasn't far behind and has gained that position. But Chris Gooch will have some serious damage there, and will probably be looking at trying to get that back to the pits for repairs.
Kahea went off at that corner as well. Usually when it rains, it falls. Sorry, when it rains, it
pours.
It pours. There you go. When it rains, it falls. There you go. Brilliant stuff. Kahea. Yeah. So 3 drivers having problems there, and of course we saw problems earlier on for a couple of drivers around that part of the track. Boltner and one of the pro drivers earlier on spinning at that same corner on the same lap. So problems. And Blessu, he's been very under the radar. We haven't seen him too much. Got the French driver up into second place, in Volkner. Remember, he was 20 seconds clear in the lead, had the pace as well on Angelo, but those spins alone have probably cost him about half a minute, and then of course getting stuck behind other drivers was very much his to lose. Of course he'll have other rounds to make up those points for Volkner, but huge disappointment for him if he only finishes in third place. But here's an incident that is Reagan, I think that was, going off the track, or was it someone else? I'm not quite sure. It was Carl Gray, apologies, who of course was near the front himself earlier on, as we got Pudicom off again. That's his second mistake in 3 laps.
Yeah, I think we've seen Pudicom off 2 or 3 times in this race, so Pudicom will be looking to come back fighting in the next race. He's still 15th in class, so 16th overall, so he's still having quite a good run in the grand scheme of things. Just needs to cut out them little errors which are causing his race to unravel, as we now see Blessu trying to defend from Volkner, who we saw trying to make it past before. So yeah, he's certainly having to go on with his pack here today. Oh, so close into Aqua Minerale, and behind we can see the purple Mercedes, but he's going to have another look into Variante Alta. Don't think he'll make it through there. It doesn't look like it. No, he backs off and allows the Ferrari to turn into the corner, but the Frenchman doing a great job here of defending for the Race Esports team.
Yeah, really, really good so far. Will he defend into Avatsa? Doesn't feel the need to. But Boltner, defending hit Boltner's straight line speed seemed very poor there going into Variante Alta. I'm not sure if that was just his exit perhaps. I wonder if that was why he was struggling to overtake Gooch earlier on. He needs all the straight line speed he can possibly get, as Gartson, by the way, has just moved up into 5th position past Hardtung, so good effort there from Gartson. And yeah, I think Boltner struggling for straight line speed. Might just be the setup where he's put a bit more downforce on the car, but it doesn't seem very raceable, and that's making overtakes very tricky right now for the German driver. Is Gartson again, and that's just a back marker. So he's got 2.3 seconds to catch up to Grebstad on that last lap. Oh, it's difficult to compare. Well, on that last lap he was half a second faster than Grebstad. I mean, he's in a league of his own. He's half a second faster than everyone else out on track right now, is Gartson. Would have probably won this race if it weren't for that, as Hardtung had to come into the pits. I assume that's another drive-through penalty.
I think that may be as well why Gartson got Hardtung, because Hardtung was on the back of Grebstad, who is now having a go at Dadswell into the Tamburello chicane, and he's returned a favour around the outside. Dadswell trying to stay out of his way and just clips of grass. Won't be too happy about that, but fair game there by Grebstad. And as Hardtung comes out, yeah, he must have ran wide somewhere and picked up the drive-through penalty, as Jensen Adriansen is back into the pits, and that looks like a drive-through for him. So this is where the parts of the race where people are pushing and we're just picking up that odd situation. He drives straight through, which is getting them towards the 17X. But here is Billy Fletcher out in front, cruising 8 seconds in the lead from his namesake Mark Fletcher, same team as well, Altitude Esports, but Billy in the blue team and Mark in the main team. So 8-second lead for the, I can't see him losing this now.
Oh, well, that's a curse if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Boltner is now into 2nd place. He's got past blue sight, so he must have been right on the tail coming out of the final corner, and that poor straight line speed for him. Able to overcome, and he should be able to pull away now, but he's going to catch up to Angelo. Oh, come on, Boltner. You must be close to the drive-through. I mean, of all the drivers, he's had 3 spins, that's 6 X's along. We've just seen a 1X there. He must be close to the 17 instance, must Boltner. So he really needs to be driving this one careful. But has not been a perfect drive from him. Is that all 4 wheels in? That seems alright. At least the Piratella that time round. If he did pit, he would probably drop it down to about crouch range. Oh, he's run wide again, tried to keep it just within the track confines. Really did not expect the drive-throughs to be this much of a problem. Clouseau's trying to go alongside here. You can't go around the outside at Variante Alta. It's simply not possible in these cars. Even in Skip-Ps, it would be very tricky. But I think Boltner, surely, as long as he just gets some clean corners behind him, should be able to consolidate that place, as Gartson's now ahead of Dadswell. They are teammates. That was maybe slightly choreographed, but if Gartson's going to get any higher up, he's going to have to do it the hard way, because next up is Hakon Grebstad.
Yeah, Garton, I think, cruised up to the back of Dadswell in the last couple of laps. The gap was 2.5 seconds and he's already passed him, so Dadswell certainly probably just popping his hand out window and saying, on you go, Callum, push on and try and get us a podium lockout for the team. But Grebstad just stopping them doing that at the moment. Looking at the lap times, Grebstad about a second a lap slower so on the last time round, so we'll see whether Callum can continue that. Callum might be a bit slow this time round as defence is still on, and Ollie Morgan says, I want a piece of this, and slides his Mercedes up the inside of Blessu. Who's round?
Oh.
Blessu is round him. Ooh. I don't think there's contact there, but I think just sort of got on the power far too early. Through goes Gooch back up into 3rd place. That purple Ferrari seems to be still going again now after the damage earlier on.
It's a shame for Blue. So I think there was contact, but it wasn't anyone's fault. He was kind of off balance when he made contact, and yeah, just over rotating the car. Morgan moves through, and it should be quite a quiet. Oh, sorry, no, he's only got 8/10 of a second up to Boltner right there, so that could still be close by the end of the race. Oh, off the circuit goes Kahea, keeps it out the gravel at least, but that'll be another 1x for him, and a slowdown to go with it. Odoms will be fairly close, and there's Soto, who makes another spin. The Argentinian trying to get it back, pointing in the right direction. Another Team Upstate AM driver. Well, that mistake has lost him a lot of time. I think that's about 5 places overall. He has just lost down to 10th place over, in the amateur category. Seemingly, it's calming down out in front. I mean, we might have Garton catch up to Grebstad by the end of the race, but the other closest battle right now is probably Flanagan versus Maury. Now, I'm trying to recall what happened to Maury earlier on. He spun at Villeneuve, if I recall correctly, didn't he? And caused quite a bit of damage to the car. So he had to take an early pit stop, and we've said it many times before, but he's on the comeback. And he's got the American Flanagan just ahead. On that last lap, though, Flanagan was actually 0.2 of a second faster.
Yeah, Flanagan doing a good job. He's kept his nose clean here today and moved up. Currently 2 places further behind. Zykin is up 7 places. I think the biggest mover is still Russell Barnes with 28 places gained, taking into account that. Kosh Kelly up 24 places as well, and Phil Regan up 21. So there's some big movers. In terms of big losses, you're looking at our lapped runners further down the field. We've got Matt Knutson hasn't been able to recover from his early incident. He was up there in the silver category. He's down 19 places now. And then you've got Carl Gray, who was right up there with a loss of 26. So they will be coming back to fight another day. But Ollie Morgan, he's done a good job in that Mercedes, keeping it calm. I don't think Mercedes would be a greatest car to run around in, let's be fair.
I mean, I'm very much out of touch with the GT3 balance of performance, but like you were saying earlier on, it's good to see the variety, and certainly does seem to be unpopular as well, so I think it's a very good shout out to say that's probably not the best car for this track, but yeah, he's driven fairly well. Has Morgan up 32 places overall is the driver. Here comes Maury. He's on the outside of Flanagan. Can't really overtake into, well, you can overtake into Aqua Minerale, but you really have to be alongside well before the corner, and he is not alongside this time round. By the way, I would just like to apologise. Dan Doherty earlier on correcting me. It is Kosh Kelly, and I apologise profusely to Kosh. You know, K and J are next to each other in the keyboard. I thought there may have been a mistake, but no mistake as such. But Garton is into the pits. He was pushing to catch up to the back of Grebstad, but he's pushed too hard. He's picked up a 1x seemingly, and he is having to trundle through the pits. And man, he has had some adversity in this first round of the championship.
Yeah, Garton has really... Well, he ran really well early on, and the team strategy seemed to be working really well. But in the end, it has worked really well for Billy Fletcher, the 88.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Gooch just dropping down the order. He seems to be all right. He's down to 4th. He's just got from 2nd to 4th. But yeah, not too bad for him.
Yeah, here's Garton, who's come out alongside Gannon, who's the other driver trying to move back through the field. So that's the battle for 8th. As I was saying, Billy Fletcher has managed to stretch that lead out to about 8 seconds by the end of this race. Ollie Morgan now in for a drive-through right at the end of the race. And this is the last lap, so Callum Garton really wanted to make this move as quickly as he can to try and move up. But Billy Fletcher is leading the way for the Altitude Esports blue team, ahead of Mark Fletcher for the Altitude Esports team, as Garton goes round the outside of Gannon, all sideways for Aqua Minerale. That's not going to work, and I think he almost hit the side of Gannon as Gannon rejoined there, so I'm not sure what happened. But here comes Billy Fletcher to win here at Imola. A great drive by the Altitude Esports car. He's managed to keep it calm throughout the race and take advantage of others' mistakes as we carry on watching Callum Garton come down into Rivatsa with Gannon. Gannon on the inside, Garton on the outside. There's contact. Gannon is round. That's another incident to add to Callum Garton's messy second half of race.
Oh, nearly contact to the gain for Gannon there. I hope he won't be pushed over the instant limit. Oh, he has, and he's trying to serve it. It won't happen, Patrick. You won't serve it. You're just wasting time there. And, oh, he's got a long way to go because the start-finish line comes up very late. So Gannon picks up the 17 instants. I don't think I've ever seen a race where so many drivers got that many instants. And it's not even as though it's like unusual. It's not as though it's set it at like a harsh level or anything. This is exactly the same as the official series. Obviously the races are longer, but it is surprising. And yeah, problems there. But Angelo manages to win in the amateur category. He kept it cleaner than anyone else. And he finishes in 14th place overall. Brilliant work there from Scott. Great to see him get some success. And, well, he was 10 seconds clear of Volkner in the end. So Scott Angelo for Samsoid Blue with yeah, one of the drivers of the day. Volkner, despite so many setbacks, finishes in second place. And it will be Blue So, who also had a spin in the closing stages, will also finish on the podium. And lots of guys picking up their 17th instant on the final lap. It doesn't work. You can't serve it on the last lap. It's not Schumacher, Silverstone. They will just get a 40-second post-race penalty.
Yeah, I thought the drivers might know about that to make sure they didn't waste the time trying to trundle down pit lane. But in comes Billy Fletcher, Mark Fletcher on the podium. Hakan Gribstad stops it being a complete Altitude Esports podium, which I think he probably deserves after he was ambushed, shall we say, by the Altitude Esports team earlier in the day. Just noticing Marnin moved up into 5th place, a great drive by him, and just behind him is Van Nij, who was in the top Ferrari and kept quiet all day. I don't think we've even mentioned him as a teammate to Hakan Gribstad, but the Belgian has finished in 6th place.
Yeah, really quiet race, but yeah, absolutely, really good job from him. Good race results. Here we go. Here's the results. Fletcher manages to win out. Billy Fletcher, that is, finishing ahead of Mark Fletcher. Billy was very unlucky a couple of weeks ago in that SRW championship, so really good to see him get that top step of the podium. Certainly deserved it. Then it was Mark Fletcher, Hakan Grebstad and Tom Dadswell in 4th. Then it was Oliver Marin, who was also a bit quiet out there, but top 5 for him, only 13 seconds off the win. Then it was Stein Van Nylen, Timothy Bree, Callum Garton, despite a spin, a very costly spin, lost him about 15 seconds, and also a drive-through penalty, still finished in 8th place. Then it was David Flanagan, Dan Morey, Ludovic Zayakin, Jensen Adjunsen, Scott Angelo was top of the amateur drivers. Really good performance from him. There was Callum Puddicombe, Christian Volkner, Russell Barnes from all the way from the back to 16th place. There was Bastien Blousseau, finishing 3rd out of the silver drivers. There was Patrick Gannon, Chris Gooch, Brack Crouch, there was Ollie Morgan, Elliott, Puccetti, Helly, Odoms, Peck, Reagan, Soto, Lynch, Pedrero, Okashe, Knudsen, Hopkins, Carlson, Mitchener, Mystique, Kocho, Hahea, Barchala, Okoranza, Seja, Hartung, Gray, Carter, Lavagna, Dara Adjinsons, Papadopoulos, who we weren't able to say that name as many times as we wanted to. Hopefully we see Aris back in the future. Bembic and Alejandro Barcella rounding out the 49 cars. I think Alejandro had an incident on lap 1 and that was it for him. He did not re-enter the track. So we are going to get some interviews with the drivers. Just before we do go to the interviews with the drivers, we'll just give once again another shout out to the Finding Speed YouTube channel. If you're watching on Apex Racing TV, certainly do check out Finding Speed because there is iRacing and YouTube content. Finding Speed provides broadcasts, special events, leagues, and track guides, and also how-to videos for iRacing enthusiasts. If you head over to FindingSpeed.com/race, you can learn about the next special events coming up, and the next one coming up, I believe next weekend, is Sebring Sunday, and that is an epic 2-hour solo sprint race in the GT3 and P2 classes, and it's designed so that you can prepare for the Sebring 12 hours, which takes place 7 days later. Or 6 days later, apologies. Do check that out. It will be broadcast live on Apex Racing TV, and there will be prizes for the podium finishers. So do check out FindingSpeed.com/race for more details on that. As we will get some interviews. First up, we've got to drag in, I think, our race winner, Billy Fletcher, who joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Billy. I'll just say for first, very frustrated at your life choices because you've joined Altitude. You're now in the same team as Mark, but you're not brothers, and that just causes more confusion for the viewers. So I don't know if you want to just apologise for that quickly.
Do you know what? It was a running joke for about a year when we both drove for two teams, not simultaneously, and both teams believed that we were brothers for a long time. Now, we were actually good friends in real life. We know each other very well. And it's, it was a long running joke that people always seem to assume we was brothers.
I mean, sometimes jokes can go too far, I think. And I think this is an example of one. But anyway, it went very well for yourself today. Take us through sort of the race. That first 20 minutes was really crazy because it seemed as though Gartson was able to pull out ahead. But then really second down to sixth, it was just all kicking off. I mean, one moment one driver would be dropping down, then another would be having problems, someone would have a good run. It just seemed like anarchy for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously been doing a fair chunk of testing for it, and Mr. Garton's been rapid, all testing, and I'm really upset at myself. I was on for a lap that would have put me on pole, and I literally just overrun the last corner a touch to give me an off track. And my problem is I had a lot more wing than the rest of the guys. I was kind of looking at the long game for the race. But when I finally got through to second, I made no attempt to try and catch Callum. It was like he's been so fast, so consistent, and it was like just settle in where we are, try and push on. And when I came round turn one and he was facing me, at the other side of the corner, I was like, no way. That's the luck, striking luck I needed.
Definitely, yeah. And then for the rest of the race, I imagine it was the instance, because you probably didn't see it, although maybe you would have heard from your teammates on Discord. There were a lot of drive-through penalties. I mean, I'm looking at the instant limits. One of the drivers managed to get 38 incidents, which is remarkable. But you managed to keep it at 15, but that's only too short. Was that a problem for you? Were you really having to drive within your limits in that last 10 minutes to avoid the drive-through?
Yeah, the last 10 minutes was bedlam in my head. I'm seeing all these lap cars in front of me that are all fighting for position, and I was just like, I can't afford to get involved in that, because I knew if one hit, one touch, small touch, I know what iRacing is like with netcodes, etc. and stuff like that, and it was like one touch and I'm done to drive through and I'm out of this race and I've lost its win. So the last 10 minutes was scary. I had 15 incident points from the 30-minute mark, so I managed to get the last 30 minutes without getting a single off track. Just kept it between the lines, and the pace of the car felt good. I knew running more wing, a bit more of a safe setup, that my tyres wouldn't get eaten quite as much as the guys running the low wing. And I think it paid off towards the end of the run, as it seemed to be, even though I was leaving 10-15% on the island to give, they couldn't seem to catch me.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Certainly from where we were watching, didn't seem like you were slowing down whatsoever. So yeah, excellent pace near the end of the event. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Billy?
Yeah, the guys at Altitude for bringing me on board. Really appreciate their help that they've given me over the last couple of months. Obviously Mark bringing us on board, and then the sponsors, 3M, Asetek, SimSeekers, and yeah, not just big thanks to you guys and Russ for bringing this great league to our TVs, monitors.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Billy, and best of luck for repeating that success next week or 2 weeks' time, whenever the next round is.
Yeah, and you guys, thank you very much for having us.
Billy Fletcher there, your race winner tonight. Should just have time for one more interview, I think, David, with Mark Fletcher. Oh, you are here, David.
Yeah, I am here, sorry. Yeah. Mark, a great result for the team and a great result if you're named Fletcher, isn't it?
It is. It's not too bad. I can't believe that you guys are gutted that we're not brothers. I'm amazed by it. But yeah, it's great to have the new guys on board. And yeah, the team did it outstandingly well this evening. It's a pleasure to run these guys, and yeah, they all did me really proud. So
early on in the race, it seemed like you got sort of a little bullied out of it at times with some of the moves, but you seemed to keep yourself calmer, then gain the positions back through pitting early. Was that always in the plan, or did you just think, I'm going to go for it and hope the undercut works?
Yeah, it was pretty much. Well, I'm not in the same Discord as these guys when they're racing, because obviously I'm streaming. So as Billy said, we knew Callum was fast. I just let him go, and I couldn't hold on to the back of him. I felt like a mini rolling roadblock for the first half of that race. I saw us catching the back of those lap cars, so I thought, right, pit early, give myself a couple of laps, and to be fair, it kind of worked, because I think Hackham was so fast this evening. So yeah, mega result for us all, really.
And how close were you to your incident points limit? Because we saw quite a lot of people, including Callum, having to pit on the last 2 laps.
I think I was on the same as Billy. I think I was on 15, but yeah, I was gutted for Callum to have to. He got back up to P4, I think it was. I thought, oh, here we go, 1, 2, 4, and 5. I was like, that's brilliant. But yeah, unfortunately, dropped to 8th. But yeah, mega job from the whole team, to be fair.
So congratulations on your 2nd place. And before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just obviously all the guys in the team. We've all worked really hard, and we'll continue to work hard for the following rounds. And then our main sponsor, Asetek, SimSports, Freem, Sim Stickers, and Sim Racing Studio. And yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting. It's going to be fun to watch back.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next round.
You will indeed. Have a great evening.
So that was Mark Fletcher, who finished 2nd in today's race here at Imola.
Yes, and I think that pretty much rounds us off then for this evening. Yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this stream, because we will have more FindingSpeed events coming up in the next few weeks. The next round is in 2 weeks' time, but we do have that Sebring special event, I think, coming up next Sunday. So do make sure to check out that. But for round 2 of the GT3 League, you will need to tune in same time in 2 weeks' time.
Just to jump in, it's 2 weeks on Sunday. It's on
Apologies.
the 20th.
My bad. Well, at least one of us knows what they're talking about. So tune in for then. I mean, what you need to do, what this has taught everyone, subscribe to Apex Racing TV and turn on the notifications, because then whenever the race happens, whether it's today or in 2 years' time, then it will pop up on your device, and then you can click on it and you can watch the stream. So do that, and of course you can do that for all of Apex Racing TV streams as well. I think earlier on, I think it might be over now, might still be in progress actually. We've got the Formula 3.5 iRacing official series. And then also tomorrow we've got Spec Racer 4, we've got IGP Fun. On Monday we've got Mazda Cup, I believe. And also the, ARL GT Pro Trophy is over and done with now. But I think we've still got one more round of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship. And loads of other stuff as well. Even during week 13, a decent amount of stuff is happening on Apex Racing TV. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel. And also check out our social media pages on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from David Whitehouse, and from Sam Kumo, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time out.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.